I'm a 32-year-old man, and I'm getting married to my longtime girlfriend soon. What should be one of the happiest moments of my life has turned into a heartbreaking ordeal because of a deepening rift in my family. To give you some background, I'm my parents' biological son, and when I was 12, they adopted two boys who were biological siblings, Jack, who was 8, and Liam, who was 5. From the very beginning, it was clear that things were going to be tough. Jack came with severe behavioral issues due to some intense trauma. I'll spare the details, but it was significant. I tried my hardest to be understanding, but living with him was nothing short of exhausting. His outbursts were constant, and I often felt like I was walking on eggshells, terrified of setting him off. As we grew older, I continued to try to be there for Jack, despite everything. A few years ago, Jack fell into a devastating drug addiction. I stood by him through his darkest moments, supporting him through rehab and doing everything I could to help him get back on his feet. It was draining and heartbreaking, but I did it because I loved him and believed that, despite our challenges, we were still brothers. The situation came to a head recently at a Sunday dinner at my parents' house. My son was working on his summer homework, which involved creating a family tree. He innocently asked Jack if he wanted to be included, and Jack just flat out said no. He didn't want to be part of it because, in his exact words, "We're not real brothers." He said it so casually, like it was the most obvious thing in the world, with no regard for how much it would cut me to the core. I was utterly stunned, but what shattered me even more was that Liam, who I've always felt closer to, just sat there in silence. He didn't say a word. He didn't defend me, or even acknowledge how hurtful Jack's words were. He just let it happen. I've tried so hard to be supportive of both of them, especially Jack, despite the endless challenges. So for Jack to say that and for Liam to do nothing felt like a gut punch. It was as if they were both telling me that I was never truly part of their family. I decided to uninvite both Jack and Liam from my wedding. My fiancé has been nothing but supportive of my decision, but my parents are furious. They've made it clear that if Jack and Liam aren't invited, they won't attend either. It feels like history is repeating itself, with my parents once again prioritizing Jack over me, no matter how much it hurts me. I'm absolutely heartbroken that my parents would choose to miss my wedding rather than support me in this. I know Jack has been through a lot, but I've done everything I can to be there for him and for Liam, despite all the heartache. And now, I feel like I'm the one being punished for finally standing up for myself and setting some boundaries. Am I wrong for uninviting my brothers after they said they don't see me as family, even if it means my parents won't come to my wedding? Now for some relevant comments. Lyra, why was your kid even asking him in the first place? That could have hurt them too. As a child, it would have never occurred to me not to include my aunts and uncles in a family tree. What did you say in front of your child to plant the idea that he needed to ask them? And did you correct your kid and say that of course his uncles should be on his family tree? You are also to blame in how this rift started, because whether intentional or not, you also did not correct the idea that you aren't real brother's family, and it was your child that asked the question. Usually, people feel uncomfortable correcting other people's children in awkward situations like this. It falls on the parents to talk to their child and get to the root of things. OP, because he's 5 and just wanted to show off what he was doing. I have never said anything to plant an idea that they aren't my brothers. He doesn't even know they're adopted. Not because it's something we hide, just hasn't ever been something we really discuss as a family. Add uncles, aunties to the family tree was an optional extension, and he said it in a way of, come and help me add you in if you want to be. Not, you don't deserve to be in the tree. You're honestly clasping at straws here. I have no issue with someone labeling me Ta, but don't just make up context to decide it. OP, I don't blame them or him for his drug addiction. Jack and Liam had truly horrible things happen to them both as children. Stuff I won't get into here, but you can understand it was the type of stuff that leaves lifelong scars on you, even with the buttload of therapy they've gone through. One time Jack spoke to me about how when he's high on drugs, it's the only time in his entire life where he doesn't constantly remember. and only time he ever feels at peace. Obviously, I shouldn't be the one who is constantly picking up the pieces of him, but I can 100% understand why he got into drugs. He's still in jerk though. OP. The family tree and Jack's comment was only the catalyst for the argument that happened. And yes, there would have been no issues with Jack being included in the family tree. Now, for the update. I'm honestly still reeling from everything that's gone down. First off, thank you to everyone who took the time to comment. I've read through all your advice, and it's been a lifeline. But buckle up, because things have taken a wild turn. After hearing from so many of you, I decided I needed to talk to Liam. We met up at a pub, and I just laid it all out there. How hurt I was when he didn't say anything after Jack made that awful comment about not being real brothers. I was half expecting him to defend himself, but what I got was something entirely different. Liam confessed that he's been living in fear of Jack for years. He told me he kept quiet that night because he was terrified of setting Jack off, not because he agreed with him. Then he dropped a bombshell. Despite being Jack's biological brother, he's felt just as much of an outsider in our family as I have. The constant pressure from our parents to cater to Jack's every whim has worn him down too. Liam assured me that he's always seen me as his brother and that he regrets not standing up for me sooner. Hearing that was a huge relief. He's completely on my side now, and we agreed that if Jack can't respect me as a brother, he has no place at my wedding or in our lives. But just when I thought things couldn't get more intense, my parents decided to make everything worse. I sat them down and explained why I uninvited Jack, hoping they'd understand. Instead, they threw down an ultimatum. If Jack isn't invited, they're not coming to my wedding. No room for discussion, just flat-out refusal. I was gutted. After all these years of putting Jack's needs above mine, this is how they repay me? I couldn't hold back anymore. I let out all the anger and frustration I've been bottling up for years. I told them how I've always been the one sacrificing, how they've always prioritized Jack, and that I was done being treated like I don't matter. I made it clear that if they choose not to come to my wedding, they're making their choice, and I'll make mine. With that, I walked out, leaving them to stew in their own decisions. Out of nowhere, Jack started bombarding me with the nastiest, most hurtful texts I've ever received. He accused me of turning Liam against him, of ripping the family apart, and had the audacity to call me selfish for abandoning him. He ranted about how he never felt like he belonged in the family and how it's all my fault for pushing him away. His words hit hard, but they also opened my eyes. Jack has spent his whole life blaming everyone else for his problems, and I've been his favorite scapegoat. This time, though, I'm not letting him guilt trip me. I didn't even respond. I just blocked his number. If he can't see what he's done wrong, then there's nothing more to say. Liam was livid when I told him about Jack's messages. He's more determined than ever to support me, and we've decided to go low contact with our parents until after the wedding. Liam's been a rock through all this, helping me with the wedding plans and making sure I'm not dealing with this mess alone. So, the wedding is still happening, but with a much smaller guest list. My parents haven't reached out since our argument, and at this point, I don't care if they show up or not. This day is about me and my fiancé, and I'm not letting anyone, not even my own family, ruin it. Thank you again for all your support and advice. I'll keep you posted if anything else happens, though I'm really hoping my next update is just about how amazing the wedding was. Fingers crossed. Now for the 2-month update. Hey everyone, I wanted to give an update after everything that's happened over the last week. A lot has changed, and I'm grateful to say that things are moving in a much better direction. 2 days after the text argument with Jack, he reached out to me. I wasn't sure what to expect when he asked if we could meet up, and I was reluctant, but I agreed. When we sat down, the first thing he did was apologize. He told me how sorry he was for what he said to my son, and admitted that he didn't know why he said it. Jack seemed genuinely remorseful, and I could tell that he really meant it. This wasn't just another apology to smooth things over. This was different, and it felt sincere. After apologizing, Jack took a deep breath and confessed something that I probably should have seen coming. He told me that he had relapsed before the argument even happened. Hearing that hit me hard. It explained so much about his behavior in the weeks leading up to that moment. The irritability, the distance, the way he was withdrawing from everyone. I realized that I had missed all the signs. I'm not proud to admit it, but I was so caught up in my frustrations with Jack's behaviors and my wedding that I didn't stop to think that something deeper might be going on. Jack's confession wasn't just about the relapse. It was about taking responsibility in a way he's never done before. He went on to tell me that after realizing the damage he'd caused, he had made the decision to check himself into treatment. This might sound like a typical step, but for Jack, it was monumental. In the past, Jack's only gone into treatment because he was either sectioned by social services and forced into it, or because my parents threatened to kick him out if he didn't get help. But this time, he made the decision on his own. That was something he'd never done before, and it showed me that he was serious about wanting to change. He told me that he is doing this because the prospects of losing me, his brother, was too much, and he couldn't handle it. He wants to take this seriously because he wants to show me he can do it. He told me he sees me as his family, and he feels so guilty for making me feel like I wasn't his family. Jack has also agreed to start taking medication to help calm his nerves, something he would never do before. It's now been about 5-6 days since Jack checked himself in for treatment, and I've been visiting him regularly. At first, I went alone because I wasn't sure how my son would feel about seeing Jack so soon after everything that happened. But after a few visits, I felt it was important for my son to see that Jack was making an effort to make things right. So, I brought him along, and Jack took the opportunity to apologize to him directly. It was a really emotional moment for me as a parent. My son is still young and doesn't fully understand everything that's been going on, but he could see that Jack was sorry, and that seemed to make a difference to him. They even spent some time together, just talking and playing, and it felt like a big step forward for all of us. Throughout all of this, my brother Liam has been incredibly supportive. We've talked a lot about Jack, and it's clear that Liam wants to see him succeed just as much as I do. We both know how much Jack's trauma has affected him, and while it doesn't excuse his behavior, it does help us understand why he struggled so much. Having Liam by my side through all of this has made me feel a lot less alone. Reflecting on everything, I've come to realize that I need to take responsibility for my part in how things escalated. In the weeks leading up to the argument, Jack had been doing things that really got under my skin. Instead of addressing it calmly, I let my frustration build until I finally snapped. Looking back, I can see that his behaviors were likely tied to his relapse, and I should have seen that sooner. I feel guilty for not recognizing the signs and for reacting the way I did, but I'm trying to focus on what I can do to support Jack now that he's taking his recovery seriously. When I wrote my first 2 posts, I was in a place of deep frustration with Jack, and though nothing I said was incorrect or a lie, I definitely painted a picture of Jack's most negative moments without everything else. I want to remind everyone about Jack's trauma. Jack was a victim of severe abuse by his biological family, including extensive CSA. Liam also, but Jack's was a lot more intense. Jack jokes now that he was their biological father's favorite in all the wrong ways. Jack got into drugs at a pretty young age, but has been clean, or so I thought, for a while. I mentioned this before, but Jack has told me in the past that even now, almost 20 years after he was adopted by our parents, there is not a day where he doesn't have nightmares about his abuse. He says the only moments of peace he gets is when he's high. Jack's trauma runs deep, and it's something that continues to affect him every day. I'm not making excuses for his actions, but I do think it's important to remember that he's dealing with a lot of pain. Despite everything, I still believe in Jack. I believe that he has the strength to overcome his past, and with Liam and me by his side, I'm hopeful that he can get through this. I also want to take a moment to thank everyone who offered advice and support on my last post. Your words helped me see things from a different perspective and gave me the push I needed to approach this situation with more compassion. There's still a long road ahead, but I'm optimistic that we're on the right path now. For now, things are looking up. Jack is taking his treatment seriously, and our family is slowly healing. We're taking things one day at a time, and I'm committed to supporting Jack as long as he's committed to helping himself. Thank you all again for your support. Your advice has been invaluable during this difficult time. Some of you may call me weak or naive for thinking this time will be different, but I am prepared to take that risk one more time for Jack, as he has shown me over the last week he is genuinely wanting treatment and he wants to be better. Jack's told me he wants to earn back his invite, but not to give it him yet. He said he will prove he deserves it. I really hope so. Now for a relevant comment from OP. Yeah, some therapy would probably be useful. I haven't had it for a long time now. My parents are still being my parents. I've come to realize that every time they get involved in my relationships, they just make things worse. But at least things aren't worse than they were before, and they apologized to me for saying they wouldn't come to my wedding. Am I the idiot for telling my husband I don't want our dates to be just for his Instagram? My husband, male 25, has asked to start going on regular dates with me, female 26 again, and I'm a little sad. My husband John, fake name, and I have been married for over 2 years and dated for about 3 years before that. Overall, we have a generally healthy relationship with good communication. When we first got married, we used to go on lots of dates, not necessarily anything big, sometimes just coffee or a drive, but we went out of our way to get out of the house together for quality time. As time has passed, I have taken on more freelance work, keeping me busier, and he started saying that he's just too tired or doesn't feel like getting ready to go out after work or on his days off. Up until now, I haven't had an issue with that. He does work a lot, and I don't blame him at all. But here's where things have changed. A couple of months ago, he got really interested in digital marketing, basically selling products online. He bought an expensive course to help him learn and has started trying to consistently post 3 times a day in order to build a following on a new Instagram account. So he's really putting a lot of work into this. I'm not holding my breath that it will work out for several reasons that I won't get into here, unless you want them. But I've never discouraged him from doing it. When he gets stressed, I encourage him. I tell him often that I'm proud of all his hard work, etc. I only mention that to say that I'm not against him trying this out and haven't put him down for it, ever. But this is why I've gotten a little sad. Last week, we went on a cute date after he got off work on Saturday, and I loved it. We laughed and talked and generally had a great time like those first dates after getting married. While we were on the date, I had an idea for a cute reel that took maybe 5 minutes to record, and then I put my phone away for the rest of the time. When we got home, I created and posted the reel, adding him as a collaborator with his new digital marketing Instagram account at his request. I guess he's gotten advice to post real-life things, not just videos trying to sell. No biggie. I didn't mind. Well, since I already have a following, small but bigger than his, that reel did better than any of the other ones on his account. Great. We both thought. But now he's asked to go on a small date every Saturday. At first I was so happy. I'd love to get back to our regular dates. But then he said it would be so that we could get content for his page. He asked if I could be a collaborator on all or most of the posts, but if he could post them himself so he gets the credit for the engagement. I guess all the view, likes, etc. don't actually bump his page analytics since I was the one who created the post. I'm feeling hurt because for over a year he hasn't shown much interest in taking me out. Now, all of a sudden, because he needs content and saw how I could help his view count go up, he wants to go on dates, though. I guess I'm just feeling used and like I'm not any kind of a priority. I feel like the dates won't even count as actual dates because he's not asking to go out to spend time with me. I do want to reiterate that I'm not opposed to him doing this side job, and I'm not even opposed to helping him or collaborating on posts, though I'd prefer not to do it every week. I'm actually really happy, whether or not it works out as a moneymaker, that he's just putting a lot of effort into something that excites him. I haven't seen him this into anything, maybe ever. I'm asking for advice because I don't know if I should bring this up to him or not. And if I do, what should I say? The last thing I want to do is make him feel bad or discourage him in his new endeavor. Should I just be grateful to be going on dates again? Am I being selfish? Thanks for any and all advice, and sorry if this is very long. If this could be posted to sub, I'm open to suggestions. I couldn't post to relationship advice because it has a yes or no question, lol. Edit. Because so many people are getting hung up on the double standard of me making content on the date, but not wanting him to. I just want to clarify that I'm not a content creator by any means. I asked if he'd want to do this reel, and he said yes, and it's not a regular thing, as I don't post much. To me, the difference here is that the whole point of these dates, moving forward, will be to get content, and for him it will be work, where for me, it was just a fun thing for us. Maybe this doesn't make a difference, but that's just how I see it in my head. Now for a few comments. Caroline Sakura. How about you tell him how you feel and that a date is a date, reels are for work. If he wants to go on dates just to get views, those can be only 1 on 5 dates, if you are comfortable with even that. Communicate. The RNN communication is key. You could talk to him and with the idea above, even frame that date as a work date. If you're on board and comfortable, maybe keep the Saturdays as your special dates, and then whatever day lines up other than that, try to make reels together. If you generally don't like the idea, then tell him that as well. Away. So he is in an MLM, and he admitted that his wanting to go out with you is to support his cultish business, rather than because he values the time. That hurts. I get it. I'm sorry. I do want to say that these companies' opportunities, MLMs, are very scripted, high pressure, and designed to make people think if they fail, they are at fault, despite the actual setup being a massive reason for the failure. They literally borrow cult tactics in order to prey on people. I think you should talk about your feelings, but I also think you should tread lightly because the whole system is designed for him to be defensive if you bring up reason. It's part of the gig. There is lots of hugs. I'm sorry. Now for the 10-day update. So, first of all, thank you to the vast majority of you who were logical and kind. And screw the people who immediately jumped to bashing women in 2024. Really? Anyways, here's what I ended up doing. Many of the comments said that the best thing to do was probably just take the win and find the good in my situation. But if it's really bothering me, to bring it up to John. I honestly didn't want to, but I didn't want to be upset on every date either, so I decided to give it a trial run and see how I felt after. I waited 2 weeks to make a decision and chose to go ahead and mention it to him. For those of you who think I'm some dramatic witch whose husband could never do enough to make her happy, I told him I was sure how I felt wasn't how he intended to come across, but then explained what I had been thinking. Sure enough, as many of you said, he was just killing 2 birds with 1 stone. I told him I was totally fine creating content on our dates, but I just didn't want to feel like that was why we were on a date. He said that he understood and would be careful about it, and that if I was bothered or wanted to have a no-content date, to just let him know. So that's the good part. The next part was a little tougher. Per the advice of a couple of you with either digital marketing or MLM experience, I had the tough pyramid scheme talk. I told him before, during, and after this conversation that no matter what he chooses to do, I will support him and help him. But I also explained to him a few things. How the marketing was misleading, how most people lose money instead of making it, how they will try to keep trying to get him to spend more money to make it work, etc. I also suggested that he track his hours of learning, content creating, and posting, so that even if he does start making sales, he can decide if the time is worth the payout. I probably mentioned other things as well, but I don't remember what if so. I have always been very anti-MLM and like to think I know a lot about it, so I just tried to give him all the basic info in a kind way. After all that, I told him if he wanted to keep trying, I was for it as long as he doesn't invest any more money before he makes some. I also told him how I was so proud of all the work he put into his side hustle so far and how I loved that he was excited about it, how he's been getting up early to work out because of it. He will record parts of his run, stretches, etc., but actually does a full workout or run, and I love how it's energized him. Understandably, he was a little sad and quiet, but he understood everything and wasn't mad at all. This was all last night, and he was totally back to normal before bed, and he's continued posting today, so I guess I didn't hurt his feelings or discourage him like I thought I might. That's the whole reason I waited so long, but I guess it would have been fine all along. I am looking forward to our weekly dates and to the fact that we will be able to look back and remember them all since we will have videos from each one. Again, grateful for all of your kind words, and I'm happy to answer comments or questions. Just be nice for goodness sake. Now for some comments. Soulswalker. Sounds like that went about as well as it realistically could go. Gliding to life. I think that you did as good a job as could be done. MLM schemes are designed to operate as a cult. They require full commitment, discourage any questions or concerns, and work by pulling others into the scheme. You addressed it logically, expressed support for him as your partner, but also established some boundaries to use data to assess progress and next steps. At this point, all you can do is to protect your joint finances and ensure that he doesn't use the rent or 401k money to fund his side hustle. You might want to set up some alerts on your joint accounts so that he doesn't take any actions without your knowledge. And also, put identity monitoring in place so that if he opens up new accounts, credit cards, or otherwise, then you will be alerted. Lots of people have gotten caught in such activities, and it becomes similar to a gambling addiction. Am I the idiot for refusing to wear my future mother-in-law's outdated wedding dress and ending my engagement after my fiancé slapped me? My 26F and my fiancé 27M got engaged in February 2024. We are planning our wedding to be in March next year, on the day of when we first met. We began planning the wedding May 2024. The theme is light blue and white. It's important to know that my fiancé is an only child. A couple weeks ago, I was shopping for wedding dresses with my mom and sister when I found this lovely dress, and it needed only a little bit of tailoring to fit me. When I sent photos to my fiancé, he thought it was beautiful too. Now here's the problem. My future mother-in-law was over, and when my fiancé showed her the dress, she immediately called me. I ignored her as I was still with my mom and sister. When I got back to my fiancé's house, my future mother-in-law was waiting for me. When I walked through the door, she immediately got up from the couch and accused me of lying, claiming I had promised to wear her dress. I never had. This was such an out-of-the-blue thing for my future mother-in-law, as we normally get on really well. I told her I had never promised her anything. She then yelled at me, calling me a liar, and that I didn't deserve to get married to my fiancé. I was so taken aback by that, I just walked away. I have done so much to make sure this woman likes me, and now she doesn't because I don't want to wear her wedding dress that went out of style 50 years ago. Once I had stormed off to my room, my fiancé joined once he had sent his mother back to her house. He asked what had happened, and I explained my side of the story about how I was just suddenly accused of all these lies I never said. He then explained his mom's side of things, which were that apparently when I first started dating my fiancé, my future mother-in-law had shown her wedding dress, and I had said I would love to get married in that. I started dating my fiancé 5 years ago. I honestly don't ever remember saying that, but it was so long ago I might have, but I don't think so, as the dress isn't the prettiest. The next day, I woke up with messages from my future mother-in-law saying that I'm such a liar and that my fiancé shouldn't marry a liar. I'm going to be honest, I teared up as I read those messages because I tried so hard to be liked by her, and I thought I was. I told my fiancé about the messages, and he said that she's probably just hurt that I don't want to wear her dress. But it's my wedding. Why can't I wear what I want? Please tell me your opinions. Update. Hi, I'm not sure how to start this, but I sat my fiancé down and talked to him about my FMIL. When he finally gave me the time to actually talk, I mentioned how I wanted to wear my own dress to my wedding, and he once again brought up how it was also for our parents. WTF? I explained calmly that it was a union of us, not our parents, and unless his mom wanted to pay for our entire wedding, it was our wedding. Then I said how he found the dress I originally wanted beautiful, and he only changed his mind when his mom raised the issue. He said he only said it was beautiful because that's what I would have wanted to hear, and he found it ugly. I didn't react to the last comment, and instead I brought up how I could wear something else of his mom's, and he completely shut down that idea, saying his mom offered the dress, and I couldn't take something from her if she didn't offer it, and that I should be grateful she offered her dress. I admit I was angry at this and replied with, "Am I marrying you or your mother?" When I asked him this, he yelled at me saying that what his mom was asking wasn't a big deal and that I was blowing this out of proportion. After he said I was making a big deal out of my wedding dress, I stormed out and called my mom, explaining the whole situation. When I went back downstairs, he was gone, and he texted me explaining he's going to be staying with his mom until I come to my senses. I'm now rethinking my whole relationship, as I can't marry him if I'm also marrying his mother, and I'm not going to be one of those people on Reddit talking about my horrible mother-in-law, even though I sort of am. Now for a few comments. Outrageous Victory 18 said, "Oh, come on. Your mother-in-law sounds irrational, manipulative, and controlling. If she's like this before you get married, best of luck to you after the wedding. She's not likely to change, and your fiance seems like a mommy's boy. Not the idiot, but have a real good think about your future." OP replied, "This whole thing has changed my opinion on her. I just don't understand how it all happened." Outrageous Victory 18 added, "Is it possible that mother-in-law has been hiding her true self all this time? Because people don't tend to become so manipulative overnight." OP responded, "That is possible, but we haven't had any conflicts like this, so maybe she wasn't hiding. She was just never given the opportunity to show her true self." Sheba Spots commented, "You get to decide what you wear to your wedding. You never promised to wear mother-in-law's dress, and even according to what she said, you just said a complimentary thing when she was showing the dress off years ago. Your fiancé seems to just want to smooth things over. Ask if he really wants to see you on your wedding day and know you are unhappy. That even if you wear the dress, the only one that will enjoy it would be his mother. Not a great start to a marriage." OP replied, "These are very good points, and I never did promise her that, so it's truly a shock I'm going to speak to him tonight." Update, 2 days later. Thank you all for the comments. I appreciate it so much. I talked to my mom, and she said that my fiancé is acting weird and immature. Yesterday, my fiancé's mom called me explaining that we need to talk, and I agreed. She stared of saying how I was going back on a promise, and she was hurt by that. I never got the chance to defend myself before she said she is willing to move past it if I wear her dress. I completely shut down that idea and expressed how it was my day, and I want to wear what I want. I then offered that I could wear something else of hers if she wants that. She didn't. She wants me to wear her dress. I tried again to explain how I wasn't comfortable wearing her dress, and I never promised to wear it, and it might have been one of my fiancé's ex-girlfriends. She, however, didn't take this and blew up at me through the phone, calling me a liar, unworthy, and a witch. I hung up on her and blocked her number. Then my fiancé texted me saying it wasn't fair to yell at his mother about the dress and I'm acting so immature, but she was the one who blew up at me. Then I texted my fiancé to meet me at our house to talk things out. He refused, saying he would come tomorrow. So now I am waiting for him to show up. Now for a few comments. Noaria 153 said, "Your fiancé is extremely immature. Your wedding has nothing to do with either one of your parents. Whether or not he thinks the dress is ugly, he ain't wearing it, so why is his opinion relevant?" Spinner of Yarn added, "This made me think that the whole problem could have been solved if he wore the dress, but since he and his mother were such jerks, we're past that now. He should still wear the dress though, since it's so important to his mother that it be worn." Update, 1 day later. Hello everyone. Again, thank you for the kind words and comments. I appreciate it so much and didn't expect it to sort of blow up, and I wish I could reply to all of you. I talked with my fiancé about his childish behavior and how I was angry at his mom and him for trying to get me to wear the dress. He tried to talk, but I quickly cut him off. and continued saying how it was no longer about the dress and it was how he took his mother's side over mine. He wasn't happy with this, of course, and said he was only taking the side which was right. However, I disagreed with this and said a dress was a huge factor of a wedding and that I wouldn't wear something I wasn't comfortable with. And then I again brought up how he should be backing me, not his mother, if we are to get married. He got super pissed off at me for that, as I said if instead of when. He started yelling, saying how I was going to cancel our wedding just because of a stupid dress and how all this must be some joke. I stood firm and told him that this whole thing has got me questioning whether I want to marry him. He once again, surprise, surprise, tried to storm out. I followed him and told him he had to talk with me or I'm ending it. He whipped around and slapped me. I stood there in shock as he slammed out the front door and ran back to his mommy. Safe to say, I am not marrying this man and I am texting him just that. Thank you so much for all your comments. I can't explain how much you have all helped me. Hopefully, I can find a man and marry him in less than a year so my beautiful planning doesn't get wasted. The last sentence was sarcasm. Now for some comments. First commenter, he slapped you? Oh hell no. He thinks you're being petty? Show him petty. Press charges against this mama's boy and tell him to frick off. You dodged 2 bullets. I'm definitely going to press charges for attack. Any part of me that loved him still got slapped right out, literally. Next commenter, I love that you can laugh about it. You're a strong woman. You're going to have an amazing life without him. Thank you, much appreciated and needed. Another commenter, honestly, cancel everything you can without penalty now. Tell them he attacked you as they might be more sympathetic that your cancellation is from a serious matter. Any forfeits can come out of his pocket. Now for the update, 17 hours later. Hello again. This one will be a bit of a short update. Again, thank you for all the kind words and some of the not so kind. This morning, I went to the police station and filed for a restraining order, which will then be taken to court. I have taken photos of the mark on my cheek from him slapping me and video footage of him coming and leaving my house. Hopefully all goes well, and I can leave him and his crazy mom behind me. I'm going to use the wedding venue to host myself an early birthday party and going on the honeymoon with my sister. I took your advice and unblocked him and his mommy, which I then quickly had to mute as his mom blew up my phone. I texted my ex-fiancé calling things off and that he is a jerk. He replied with saying he's sorry, etc., and bombarding my phone with messages asking me to forgive him. Sorry for the short update, will probably be the last one for a while. Again, thank you for the comments and support. Lots of love, OP. Now for a few more comments. First commenter, not the idiot at all. It's great that you're taking steps to protect yourself and move on. It's your wedding, your dress, and your life. Enjoy that birthday party and honeymoon. You deserve all the happiness. Next commenter, glad you ditched the slap happy mama's boy. I hope you have a nice birthday, and you and your sister have a great vacation.